What's up everyone, welcome back to another video. Looking at Norway this time, we had three main hikes that were going on and I'll be jumping deep into those and discussing and showing some footage of each of those hikes as well and sort of giving a bit of a rating for what I thought of each one. We'll start off with the three hikes that we did. The first one was Preikestolen or Pulpit Rock, very common one that a lot of people do. It was very busy as well. The second one, Kossdalsvegen, was a little bit lesser known, but definitely one that we enjoyed. And the third one was the Vidden Trail, or I'm actually not sure what the hike's called, hiking from Mount Ulriken to Mount Fløyen. Unfortunately, we didn't get to two of the main hikes that Norway has to offer in Trolltunga and Kjergbolten. Also, just a little side note, I really apologise to any Norwegian people, anyone that I'm offending with my pronunciation of these places, because I know they're definitely not spot on. So this is the path that we kind of use to move around Norway, starting on the south side of Denmark, moving up through Copenhagen, then through Sweden. We got just below Oslo. It was a bit difficult to navigate through the van, so we moved south of that, down near Kristiansand, down the bottom of Norway, and then moved up along the west coast. You can see these yellow dots here. They basically indicate wherever we went. And then we moved back down through the middle and then eventually stayed another night in Denmark just to finish off. Anyway, that's enough about the actual route that we took onto the first hike of Preikestolen. Here we are at the base of Preikestolen, and you can see it's a nice track to start off, obviously a bit of gravel, but sealed, going uphill. You can see it wasn't long until we got to a nice viewpoint. I found out the views just kept getting better with this walk as well. Alright, about halfway up to the top of Pulpit Rock, or Preikestolen, however you pronounce it. Starting to get a bit sweaty here, working hard. It's about an 8k round trip, so we've probably done about a k and a half, 2k's already. See Sarah in the background there. I'll just flip you around, you can see what's out in front of me now with the view that we've got here. This view here, obviously it's better than the last one that I showed you when we stopped very early on in the mountain. But funny thing is, the views just kept getting better and better the higher that we went. There were times it was quite difficult to continue filming while walking, particularly up paths like this. Well, this one wasn't too bad because there's a few steps on there, but you got to really watch where you're walking, especially when there's a lot of people around, and this was quite a busy trail too. This part of the hike was quite unique, mainly in the fact that there wasn't massive crowds of people in front of us or behind us. You can also see there's a lot of open space to the side, whereas a lot of the actual walk was like a man-made path or up rocks that had clearly just been put there for people to walk on. Hi Sarah. Still going, starting to get hot, pretty sweaty as you can tell. Trying not to get my face hit as much because I am going to be a dripping mess very shortly if I'm not already. This section here was much more representative of what the actual walk was. I'm surprised I actually managed to film without falling over. Alright, those signs we saw, I was wrong initially. We got about 1,500 metres to go to the top. That's when I said we're about halfway. We're at a quarter of the way there, so still plenty of time left. Right here you got the first sneak peek of what the top view actually looks like. You can see a little bit of water just peering through the gap there. We get a really good look at that from the top, so stay tuned, more of that to come. This part here was definitely one of the more enjoyable parts of the Preikestolen walk. Essentially just this, it's not flat rock, but it's definitely not as hilly as parts that we were walking up. Obviously it's pretty spaced out with people as well, but we're right near the top and we sort of walked on that flat rock area for probably a couple hundred metres. There's also, when I pan here, you can just see this little lake, little watering hole type thing towards the bottom. That was also just amazing to see how many of these little spots there were up the mountain. Let's go! About an hour 40 to get up here. It says a 4k walk. I think I just clicked over 5 by the time I got to the top. So whether I went an inefficient way or just lied to me, I don't know. So we made it to the top. You can see these views basically as advertised. I'd heard about this walk before we came to Norway, and you can see why it was so popular and so busy. So many people up here. That was just a cue to get a photo at the edge of the rock. Oh, hi Sarah. All these people obviously are just having their lunch or enjoying a little break up here before they start to walk back down. So I managed to climb up a rock that was a little bit higher, and up here you can see just how many people were actually on Pulpit Rock. And Sarah a little bit scared there as well. Time for one last look at the fjords and the water below before we head back down. Amazing views, definitely would recommend. Alright, so in terms of Preikestolen, we definitely liked it. It was the first hike, so probably a little bit biased in terms of how we'd rate it. Probably give it about an 8 out of 10 in terms of enjoyment. Probably loses a couple of points just because it was quite busy. Obviously a little bit difficult as well. I'd probably rate it just more than a moderate hike, probably more towards the hard side of things. I'm sure if you had really clear skies, the views would probably be slightly better. And maybe if you're going to do this one, I would probably suggest to do it in the morning, just to sort of beat the crowd if you can. Now move on to the second hike of Kossdalsvegen. Again, apologies for pronunciation. I'm almost certain that one's not correct. This one, I won't spoil too much, but Bit of an impromptu one. This wasn't planned at all. We actually drove up from Stavanger to Bergen because we planned to do the Vidden trail. And these were all 3 days in a row. Okay, so this was the second day of the 3. So what we ended up doing, we drove, we parked, we had dinner. This is probably about 7 o'clock. We actually just decided, let's go for a hike. And it probably ended up being our favorite out of the 3. Here's the footage that I captured on the day. Enjoy. So here we are at the start of our second walk, Kossdalsvegen. But as you can see here, very different to Preikestolen. Different mountain setting, much low altitude, I suppose. Sealed path, which is nice, a lot less rock to climb up and definitely not as steep. All right, we're about 20 minutes into this. I think we're about halfway up. I said that yesterday and we were nowhere near halfway up. It was about a quarter. So yeah, we'll keep pushing on. Stop at this little lake down here, which you can sort of see behind me. Some thick forest. I'm getting absolutely eaten up by these flies here. They just bite and sting us. So apologies if I seem a little bit distracted. Incredibly different landscape here compared to Preikestolen. The lake is no different there, but just deep in the forest, or what seems to be with the walking trail in between. We're getting quite close to the top here, so this is the actual lake that you can see from the top, and it's a really cool view again, just off in the distance here. We've gone through the forest there, just like an open field just before we get to the bottom of the hairpin turns. Here's Sarah with a bit of energy just running up because the walk wasn't too difficult, but she regretted that pretty quickly. Alright, we've just started the hairpin turns and it's gotten crazy steep here. So, look, I'm going to sound pretty puffed. Fitness is really being tested at the moment. Sarah right behind, plugging along. We just got powered past by about a 50-year-old couple. That was probably not a highlight for us, but... Well, this part was a highlight because you can see this awesome view just heading out. We actually overtook that 50-year-old couple that I mentioned. The old fella is taking his shirt off because he was probably sweatier than I was. Alright guys, we made it. Finally got to the top. You can sort of see the hairpin turns behind me. 17 of them. If I haven't mentioned that already, you can see the water off in the distance. Yeah, a bit sweaty. Had to wait a good 5 or 10 minutes to wipe off the sweat once we got to the top. Got really steep for a bit there. This is one of the best views that I took in the whole time that we were in Norway, not just this walk. The hairpin turns with the lake in the background, one of the most still lakes you'll ever see. Just loved it. Alright, we just got back from the hike. I see a real impromptu sort of adventure for us. We're just kind of sitting in a parking lot, or a campsite I should call it, not parking lot. Sarah was sitting on the bed watching the Netflix Dallas Cowboys cheerleader show, as any person does. And I just saw a guy walking over to our van. I was like, Sarah, someone's coming. There's no one else here. He's definitely coming for us. And instead of murdering us, which was my first thought, he dropped off this, which just gave us a bit of an update on the walk and told us a bit about it. We're staying here because it's about a 30-40 minute drive to another walk that we're going to do tomorrow. And then after dinner, we ended up just saying, why not? Let's go for a walk. It's about 3k out, 3k back, a bit further once you get up the hill. But yeah, that was just surreal. Awesome views. Probably the most still lake I've ever seen. But yeah, I think we've got another hike tomorrow, so we'll keep it coming. All right, so Kossdalsvegen, as I mentioned, is probably our favourite hike. I'd probably give it like a 9, 9.5 out of 10. The only part that was difficult is actually going through those hairpin turns. Definitely got really steep towards the end. The 3 or so K from our campsite, or from our motorhome, was pretty flat. There's a little bit of a hill on the way up, but nothing too strenuous. I would say the average human could probably complete this one pretty easily. Next up, we'll move on to the Vidden Trail. So just a bit of background information on this one. We'd obviously planned this. We drove into Bergen, got our campsite, which was about 2.5, 3 Ks from the starting point. We did that walk slightly uphill, wasn't too bad, but when we actually got to the starting point, as I mentioned in the video, it takes about 1.5 kilometers to walk up. Now that doesn't sound too bad, but it was up this insanely steep hill. There was all these steps there. It just felt like we were climbing steps non-stop. I think it honestly took us about an hour, maybe even over an hour to do 1.5 kilometers. All right, here at the base of Mount Ulriken. I suppose it's near the peak, I actually don't know, but about to start our 3rd hike in 3 days. This one's about 15k. The thing is, we actually parked about 3 Ks away, so we've already been on foot for about 40 minutes up a hill. We've got about 15k to go, so this could be a bit of a regret, but we'll see how we go. This is essentially what the path looks like just towards the bottom. We're on the way up to the top of Mount Ulriken now. This walk up to the top was probably actually the hardest part of this hike. We found there was about 1.5 kilometres just going almost directly uphill. These stairs probably don't do it justice. They were a lot more steep than those. Once you get to the top, you actually get a really good view of Bergen, as you can see here. But it was quite a difficult hike and even more difficult to film. There was a cable car actually that went up to the top of the mountain. We would have had to walk a long way down to actually get it and then obviously pay for it as well. So we decided just to walk up without really knowing how steep it was going to be, which we kind of regretted once we got to the top, but oh well, we're here now. All right, made it to the top. Honestly, it's basically just an hour and a half of walking uphill, up steps the whole time, so it was pretty tough. The shirt's basically gone a different colour, so probably won't show you any more of that. And yeah, I think this is just the start. From what I can tell, it's like 13 k's across the mountain, so hopefully it's not up anymore. Certainly doesn't look like there's anywhere else to go up. Just going to give you guys one more view of Bergen before we head up. Seriously an incredible town from where we're standing. I'm going to try and give myself a bit of a break from talking here. I think I've recorded a few more clips on this hike as well. Finally, this map shows the different hikes that are available from the top of this mountain. There's a few different routes that you can walk along. Ours is the red one, which I think I'll zoom in on in a second. You can see us starting at Ulriken there, following the red line along, and we just essentially head across all the tops of the mountains, across different fjords, different lakes, end up in Fløyen, which is 13 kilometres away. Just starting the 13-kilometre walk. So basically hiked 2 kilometres non-stop up mountains, plus the 30 minutes, 40 minutes from our campsite. And now to start 13 kilometres, wish us luck. All right, about 3k into our 13k. Started to tackle the real hard-hitting questions here, really testing out the relationship. Most recent discussion was Gatorade and Powerade flavours. I think, actually we didn't discuss this. Sarah, do you agree Gatorade's better than Powerade? Yeah, so Gatorade better than Powerade. Powerade, for me, goes Gold Rush or Mango, whatever that flavour is. And then red and blue. And then Gatorade. It's tough to split the three, I think, just for consistency. Sarah's going watermelon, then berry. I'm going probably blue, just consistent wise. Always good. Grape's fantastic, watermelon's great. They're the top three. Honestly, ask me tomorrow, I might order them a different way, so I can't really give you a set order. But probably should focus because I'm about to get into a rocky part here. Alright, we've just come to the halfway point, about 6.5 k's in, at least so my watch says. Spin around in a second, show you guys some views that we can see of Bergen, and we'll keep moseying on for the halfway point. Hi Sarah. Alright, quick update. Just walked past a post that had us 7.1 k's away from where we're going. We've done about 5.9, so about 600 metres off the halfway point. Great way to crush a man's spirits, but also eating shit's almost a good way to do that as well. This walk definitely shouldn't have taken as long as it did, but every time we crossed water, Sarah crossed it like this. Just wanted to point out here that it says 3.9 kilometres to Fjordside. So I thought we had about 5 or 6k left based off my watch overestimating. Turns out that sign had us at about 3.9, so we're celebrating, we're very happy, but we're not there yet. About a third of the way to go, basically between two fjords. So we're kind of expecting it to get intense and go back up, because I'm pretty sure we finished at the top of a mountain. But then again, I wouldn't say we've done our research. You can probably tell. Just noting here the 4.3 kilometres to Fjordside. So I swear we didn't read this wrong, but a couple of k ago we thought we saw a 3.9 to Fjordside, and then about 100 metres ago, 200 metres ago, we saw a 4.3. So we've gone backwards 400 metres apparently. So I just wanted to add a little voice recording here just to sort of highlight these sheep and this moment, I suppose. So we heard these bells coming from a while away. We thought these two people behind him were herding the sheep. Turns out they were just randoms, probably as scared as us of the sheep walking past. Thankfully, we lived to tell the tale and they didn't cause any issues for us. But just a wild moment that we certainly weren't expecting to pass, 10, 15 sheep just on our walk. Alright, main stretch now. I think we're just under 2k's, although my estimate has been atrocious. Basically every hike we've been on. I'm blaming my watch for that, but 2k to go, and then just to figure out how we get back to the campsite, because I think it was like an hour with transport or 55 minutes with transport or something like that. But yeah, I'm hoping that it's just a nice steady decline on a sealed path that we're on at the moment, because that first 2k, 3k was pretty rough. Glad we haven't seen much more of that. But I'll see you at the bottom. Alright, so we finished our walk, all 6.5 hours of it. Got to the end, looked at how to get home. It's about an hour and a half walk. Other options were walk 20 minutes to a bus stop, catch a bus, walk a bit, catch another bus, walk a bit more. Got to the first bus stop. Bus was a 29-minute wait, so we thought, let's walk it. We also looked at an Uber. And for about a 20-minute drive, it was over 80 Australian dollars. So we bailed on that idea, and we're walking. Another 6k or whatever it is. So I think we've got about 20 minutes to go. Update on the watch is 38,980 steps, 27.65 kilometres. That's probably the most I've ever walked in today, so can't wait to sit down and do absolutely nothing. All right, there you have it, guys. That is the end of our hiking diary. We'll go through a quick little rating for the Vidden Trail just to finish up. Probably out of the three, I would have this in third place out of the three. Not to say I didn't enjoy it, I'd probably still give it about a 7.5 out of 10. Definitely still enjoyable. The views are pretty cool, but it's pretty monotonous. It's a lot of the same stuff. Because you're walking across the same mountain effectively, you're just getting the same views of Bergen. It was definitely quieter than the Pulpit Rock Trail or Preikestolen Trail. Sum up, third place, Vidden Trail, about 7.5 out of 10. Second place, Preikestolen, about an 8 out of 10. And then I'd have Kossdalsvegen, about a 9 out of 10. So if you're going to take anything out of this video, Kossdalsvegen, definitely an underrated hike. You could definitely do that and the Vidden Trail within back-to-back days. Certainly manageable, again, for a reasonably fit person. If you were looking for an easier hike, Kossdalsvegen is definitely the way to go. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one. I don't know how the other videos are going to go. Again, I'm pretty new to this. No idea what I'm doing in terms of the editing. So hopefully this one's actually all right. But we move on. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Can't believe I just said that.